So hello. I'm trying to fit us both into our camera. And today will be a 50-50 special. And we will start with the normal speed 50-50s.
And my name is Dayah, and our coach today is Aarnimetsa.
Yeah, welcome. And we will be starting up by doing a normal speed 50-50s. We are playing quite a few tables today, so you'll get a taste of what it's like during my project. I'm playing against Kuutossilli, and I'm starting with $100 bankroll, and I'm trying to catch Kuutossilli, who started with $1,500 more. And Kuutossilli has played probably 50,000 more 50-50s, and he was also at Sharkscope leaderboards for $2 to $5 sit and go, so I've got my work cut out for me. And we will start today at around $200, so we should have an interesting time trying to catch Kuutossilli. If you have any questions, please send them in our chat, or we are looking at Justin TV's chat as well. So we are trying to be reachable, and it might be a bit hard for me at sometimes trying to respond, and it will be hard if I'm having a ton of tables running and I'm losing my words, because getting back to them isn't going to be that easy. The amount of running tables you can see on the bottom of the screen, and I think we are going to increase it quite a bit. And hello for you, Lost Bro. I'm trying to mix $3.50s and $7 games to this special. They are fitting better to my current bankroll if I'm mixing them. I should be rolled for the $7 normal speed 50-50s if my presumptions about my ROI are correct. But it's a bit hard for me to get enough tables on just the $7 normal speeds. So like today I have started playing $7 normal speeds, and then I have added 350 turbos as much as I can, and try to, because I think for my hourly would be best if I would be able to fit only those $7 50-50s. And it's also a bit harder when I'm playing a continuous set, because I think I'm playing about 40 tables at once, so when I'm playing a continuous set, I'm having some problems. With the... Oh, we are getting an interesting hand there, so I'll try to... Even though there is a complete flush, I probably should have bet less there. I got too excited with the set.
Is your PT4 on?
Nope. That's a good catch.
Yeah, I thought it should be visible by now, but...
And as you can see, because I haven't played these 50-50s a lot, I'm not having all the regs marked, and I think on the normal speeds the games aren't that reggy. Actually, the games are really good. I have liked the games. I'm thinking that they are really beatable. And usually it is that when you are playing normal speed games, the games are a bit softer and there are more opportunities to make mistakes for the opponents. So usually it's going to be really good to play the normal speed ones if you just have the option to play those. And as Julos Pro said, on the Finnish hockey side, everything is good. All the teams from the biggest city in Finland are gone.
And why is that good?
Because everyone is hating on these big city teams, and especially Jokerit because they are leaving for Continental Hockey League. And it's going to be bad for the SM Liiga's business because in Helsinki there are the two biggest arenas, so they could fit the most people in those. So the playoffs will probably have the least amount of people coming because there are so few games with the large arenas. A 9 Kings suited I would be tempted to raise here, but I think it's just a bit too weak there.
Maybe from cutoff or something like that.
Yeah, from cutoff I would be surely, but now there are 6 people behind me, so we are in it with kings, and it's fairly drawy board, but I think about a bit over half a pot would be a good option for us to get value. And in here we are trying to get bigger value on most reads than what we usually would do on the higher buying games, because the worst players are usually making mistakes calling with hands that aren't playing that good.
So this is your second day for this challenge, and you have started with $1.50 games. And today you have skipped those, but what do you think about those levels? Like, you haven't played those for quite a long time, and now there is quite a lot of new kind of opponents for you.
Actually, I think that the 150 level, it was really good to see how the really bad players are playing nowadays, and we are trying to get some value here when we hit the nut flush, even though there are possibilities for a better hand, but we shouldn't be afraid. We are usually in the lower buying games that there are a lot of bad players in the games. I'm usually trying to just get bigger value with some weaker hands because the opponents are calling with the way too weak hands. And I think what we should try to keep, there are now 12 games, there will be 20 registered. Well, let's try the 25. It went so well last time around. So there are some differences, and in the 150s, because I think I marked 2 or 3 regs during my about 500 games there, and I don't think the level of play is that good there, so there's a lot of opportunities to abuse your opponents. So I think for a good player, the 150 level should be pretty easily beatable. And here, when we are having the top pair and we are having straight draw and a flush draw, we are getting it in, and we are, even against the set, we are not in a horrible situation. And he's giving us such a great odds to draw that we practically need to take it.
It was so weird because he didn't have a huge stack at the beginning either.
Yeah, now that we got some showdown equity, we are... And if he would have betted 3 times a small bet, I would have called the river, but I can't see myself calling the... And edits how we are going to be calling, and, well, a runner flush.
That was a bit surprising.
runner flush or me calling?
First runner flush, but then I don't know if I like your calling either.
I don't think that my opponent has an ace there that often. Especially when he's betting so small on most of the...
But he did have such a small stack, so maybe he didn't want to scare you away. Because he was able to get it in anyway.
But if he would have had an ace, that would be probably the most obvious way would be to just ship it in pre-flop. So that's why I think that with a pre-flop call and how it went, I think that there wouldn't be that many aces on his range, and I was correct on that there aren't that many aces in his range, but I was incorrect in assuming that I'm good there, because but when I have called two streets, I'm going to be calling the river if there isn't a big change, and the backdoor flush coming through isn't a big difference. And so we are now at 14 tables. We have 8 more tables registered. And you can see here how the general play goes, that there is a lot of limping and there are 4 and 5-way pots left and right. So if you are coming from a higher buy-in sit and goes, you are probably having some trouble adjusting at the beginning. And Markus, you had a good question on the chat.
Would you care to translate that?
No.
That's what I thought. Do you think they should change the name?
Yeah.
Would that be correct?
That would be correct, but that wouldn't be politically correct.
True.
But it's correct in the sense that it's the right thing to do. Right?
Right for who?
For the team. I think we are here. It's a 4x and a call. There are enough chips in the pot already to make it profitable for us to just shove the tens.
I guess you have had quite a surprises here with calling ranges already.
Yeah, I have had some real surprises and real pains in adjusting to people just doing completely, I think, stupid stuff, if that's correct to say it.
Correct enough, perhaps. Not reasonable.
I don't know why Julos Pro is translating to Swedish when we are in the English session.
But you can already start to see some wrecks here, and I think when I asked you how many wrecks you could mark in the 150 games, I think you said 1.
2. I marked even the second one.
And did you have something like 500 games during the first day?
Yeah.
So
in the 15 days, I'm probably aiming for about 7,500 games. So
that's a whole bunch of games.
I think that's quite a few games.
So that's your official or unofficial goal?
We can make it official.
Okay, we have an official goal. 750 games for 2 weeks of play.
7,500.
I'm sorry, 7,000.
We have already 750 games.
So 10 times that.
Yeah, 10 times that. It's like easy game.
I truly hope so. But I was very proud of you that you could be, you were able to double your bankroll during the first day of the games.
Yeah, I think that was really good as well, because it's important in going forward that I can raise the buy-ins at the beginning. So when that's important, it's also really good that I got a good start in the games.
I guess there was a higher rake in the smaller games.
There is higher rake, but that doesn't matter because I think the level of play is way worse in the 150s. So I think even though the rake is worse in there. And Tupe, do you play that project with a joystick or mouse? I'm actually using 3 different ways of controlling the tables during the project, because I'm trying to avoid stress to my elbows and stuff. So I'm using mouse, I'm using a joystick, and I'm using a second keyboard with hotkeys. So
You can just switch to another if you feel like it's right in the middle of the set even.
yeah, and I do it often. If I'm starting to feel strained with one way, I'm just switching to another. And I'm playing with a mouse on the live coachings because it's really hard to try to stay focused on my games if I'm playing with the hotkeys, because you can't see my decision that easily than when I'm playing with a mouse. Of course, you can see that I'm doing a lot of extra stuff when I'm playing with a mouse, so I think I'm a bit faster with a joystick or the second keyboard when I'm using a lot of hotkeys. But the difference isn't that much. And now we are trying to shape the pot that we are getting it in on the river. And we are getting it in on the river against Merilex. And good evening, playeri.
But that's true that it's really hard to follow your actions if you don't see the mouse moving when you are playing, for example, with a joystick. So that's why it's made with the mouse at the moment.
Yeah, we are using a mouse and it might still be a bit confusing. So I'm trying to walk you through on what I'm doing in games as well. And I'm using, as you can see, that I'm playing mainly on the top left corner, and I'm having a stack there. And I'm moving some tables out of it when I don't believe that he would have a better hand than I am, and he's having such a short stack, so even with the under pair we are going all in on the paired flop. And actually, now that we are hitting the 25 tables, this is way harder in English than it's in Finnish.
Harder?
Yeah. I need to think a lot more on what I'm talking about, so...
Well, it shouldn't be surprising. After
you
all.
Sounded surprised.
Yeah, I just thought that because you have been talking all the time. Like, no worries. So I had to check that. But 25 tables and you are still talking. I guess I wouldn't be able to talk some sense anyway if I were in your place.
But I have experimented with different kinds of control systems, and this works for me best that I can use these different table spots, and about 4 spots is probably the optimal for me. That if I'm having some interesting tables, I can take a closer look at them, and I'm also having 2 stacks at the top. The top left stack will always be for the, and we are getting it in from button against the big blind, and I don't like playing sneaky there with kings, because I think that when he's 3-betting that big, he isn't going to be folding there. So, and when he isn't going to be folding there, then it's, and now I'm having a problem with the table ninja not hitting my time banks like it should. So it's a bit hard, because I don't even hear that now I'm in a hurry, and then I'm already sitting out. So I've had some problems with it, but luckily I'll get in next hand every time.
So you have one main stack on the top left, and all the interesting spots are on the other places. And when you've got to the bubbles, you'll move the tables aside.
Yeah, and when I'm starting a set, I'm spreading the tables, so I'm spreading the first 3 tables to the other spots, so I'm having 4 tables at all times. It has been useful for me to look at some other players a bit more deeply and see what they are doing at the early stages. Here would have been, on the bottom left, there would have been an interesting spot to re-steal if the opponent would have been a bit more aggressive, but re-stealing against opponents that aren't aggressive is going to be burning money.
Pro is asking that what's the maximum amount of tables you have played during this project?
I have played 50 tables, but it was way too much. Especially with my problem with Table Ninja, that it doesn't click the time banks all the time. So I have been cutting back, and now I have played about 40 tables at a time. I think if all the tables would, or I could use the time banks to the maximum, I could play the 50 tables, but now it's just too stressful, and it's going to be a bit too stressful for me. But I have tried 50 tables because it just sounds good.
Like a round number.
Yeah.
And like, that's the way to go. That's
yeah,
how you
it's like stupid is as stupid does.
That's how you reason your actions in poker. It just sounded good.
You are making me sound a lot worse than I am.
No, that's only because I know that you are making a reasonable choices, but that gives me a possibility to make fun of you in a way, because we both know that it's not true, and all our listeners should know that.
I'm a bit unsure if all of our listeners do know that, so.
Well, he's a genius. Don't mind me. If I'm saying something strange, it's only because I'm teasing him or something. If you want to have some more proof, please visit his blog on the Finnish side or on the English side of this forum of ours.
Yeah, in the English side I have been also updating it as well, and I'm trying to update both of the English and Finnish sides every day, so.
And one thing that just came to my mind, if you are interested in playing poker with a joystick, Aarnimetsa has made a very good article with some notes about it, and it's both in English and in Finnish, and it can be found on our forum, so please visit and be amazed, because that's very useful information.
Actually, there is one thing that I'm having a bit of trouble adjusting to in the 50-50s. On how should I be adjusting to the players that are betting something completely stupid on the first streets, that they're betting like something, when I'm having a meddling hand and they are betting something like 1/5 of the pot on the flop or something like that. And I have had some interesting hands coming up that have been, and I just had one hand that I was completely, and he bluffed like 4 times the pot on the river when ace hits.
What did he have?
A jack-6 suited with no jacks or 6 or the suit on the table.
Oh dear. That's kind of hilarious.
Yeah. But that's something that I'm trying to adjust to. Like the players can do something completely surprising. And here we are having a spot when we are having an overpair and a decent flush draw that we want to get our money in. And sorry if this is really really hard to follow. It gets easier when I'm busting out of the tournaments, but I have just been building larger stacks on most of the tables without busting out, so
yeah, sorry about that.
And Julos Pro was pretty sure that there was a 6 on the table. I think we can revisit that later on.
Well, even if he had
A 6 when there's ace and king and 10 on the board.
yeah, so it's like whatever. A huge bluff anyway.
And here is also a problem with the guys here, that I might be misreading them completely. Like that I'm reading that they are having a strong hand, but their idea of a strong hand differs completely from my idea of a strong hand. Like they are having a flush with 1 card flush with a 3 that they are playing like it's the nuts. And then I'm completely confused that what's happening right here, because I'm not expecting a player to be very aggressive when he has practically only 1 card of his hand plays and it's not nearly the nuts, and I can beat him with only 1 card pretty easily. And usually I might have also been folding a lot of decent stuff because the player seems to be projecting a really strong hand, but the hand isn't really strong in the way on what the board looks like.
And 80 level is the first level where you can have untes on 50-50s.
Yeah, I think the 50-50s, the blind structure is probably the best on the PokerStars sit and goes. Or if I could have an option, I would have the antes right from the beginning, but that's just my option. I think the antes are making the game a lot more interesting because they are pressing people to make moves and they are promoting more aggressive poker. and they are also making the life harder for people that just want to fold and catch some good hands. So.
And it's a perfect game for your kind of people who are playing aggressive poker, because you get a lot of chips just by stealing blinds.
And that always, in English, it always sounds so evil. That you are now stealing from blinds.
So now you really are worried that people are thinking that you are such a weirdo.
I have no problem being a weirdo, I have problem being evil.
That's a weird comment. If you really start to think about it. I don't want to be evil, but...
And here we are having like 40 big blinds in on the bubble. I think that we are having decent equity there. That the guy that ships it the first time shouldn't have a nutty hand all the time, and now we got it in like with the worst equity ever. And we are just getting the money in, and you see one of the good sides of 50-50s, that these 50-50s are ending pretty much at if you are starting a group of 50-50s at the same time, you are having a really nice quick decline of tables, that when the tables are starting to close, the tables are closing really quickly when the time comes.
Well, I guess that at least on these levels and with a huge number of tables, you are preferring straight action, that you prefer shipping rather than having a fancy play, just to make things clear when it's possible.
It depends. I'm having a quick option, and then I'm having a more fancy option. It depends on, do I have time, which option do I take. And it's also, I think that there are some discrepancies, that if there are a lot of people behind me and I'm having something like a weak pocket pair, I'm more inclined to shove in these games, because there are so many players that are going to be calling in the middle, and if they're just calling in the middle, then I'm quite likely having problems with the players later on, because the hand is really hard to play post flop.
Yeah, Eulost Pro is asking that what's the regular turbo ratio at this stage of the project? How many regular games you have had?
For the first day I had more regular speed games than turbos, I think. And you can actually see my yesterday's games on both the Finnish and English side, so I can't remember, but I think that I have been quite even or slightly more regular games during the first day, because with this kind of project I'm having to play really cautiously when my bankroll is really low. So then I'm playing really cautiously, because because if I go broke during this project, I'm going to lose the challenge, and I don't want to do that. So I'm playing really cautiously when I'm having a low bankroll, but now I can increase the amount of risk that I'm taking when I'm having a higher bankroll, because I can always go back to playing the smaller games.
So you can play any levels of games, but they have to be 50-50 sit and goes. That was the rules.
Yeah, only 50-50 games are going to be counted to the project, so. And also FPP Hyper, so. And I think like for these 2 days I have been getting something like $44 out of FPP Hypers. And for these 2 days thus far, I have been raking for $120 already. So I'm raking quite a lot when you are comparing it to how much money I started this project with. So I have been raking for more than one bankroll already.
That's just sick in a way.
And it's just like 1.5 days. Because I'm going to play more for today, for sure. And actually today, when I played today, I think my regular game to turbo ratio was something like I played about something like 110 games of turbos and 60 normals, so it's still about 2/3 to 1/3. And I like to play the normal games more, but with these levels, I think if I'm formulating an optimal bankroll management, it's going to be through Kelly criterion. But the Kelly criterion bankroll with these low-level 50-50s is a bit problematic because my ROI in the games is going to be so good, or I'm presuming it's going to be so good, that my bankroll requirement is less than the amount of games that I can play during the same time. And when I'm having a bankroll management that, for example, I would need 25 buy-ins to optimally grow my bankroll, but I'm playing 35 to 40 games at once. I can't play 40 games at once with just 25 buy-in bankroll. Like PokerStars isn't going to loan me money for get the 15 more tables started, so that's why I have been playing a more turbo side of games. And at the beginning of sets, I'm always mixing the two structures together, because then I'm getting my set started quicker and I'm having less waste hours. And Tupe asked me, how big ROI do you think you are getting at the project? And this is also an interesting question, because I want to answer that. I want to get as bad ROI as I can. Because the higher up I go, the lower my edge against the opponents and the lower ROI I will get. And the more that I'm playing the small buy-in games, the better my ROI will be. So it might be counterintuitive, but the more times I get knocked back to playing 150s or 350s, the higher my ROI will be. But if I get to just like playing $15 turbos and higher, I don't believe that I can get higher than 4 or 5% ROIs. So, and I think it should be doable for me at the 150s or 350s to easily. If I'm playing a lot of those, it's going to be, I hope it's going to be more than the maximum attainable at. We are going to be calling the first barrel from the Mark Holmes there. I don't believe that he's going to have the nuts that often. And that's just most of the time that's going to be a bet that he doesn't believe that I would have anything. And when he bets twice with almost a pot, then I'm more inclined to believe him that he's really having a queen there.
So all the other tables now are at the bubble, except that one. I just noticed that had 7 players, but all the other tables that are somewhere else that on the top left stack, they are on the bubble, and that's why they need to be treated a bit differently.
Actually, I'm moving the tables when they are 7-handed already because the bubble effects are starting to be higher at the 7-handed. So I'm trying to move them here on the 7-handed already. And actually I'm probably marking a new reg there. I think he has played pretty solidly, so.
Seems so.
If I would have been on the button, I would have been bet that flop easily. But when there's still 2 players with me, it's not going to be that profitable to be betting. With Ace King I was pretty mixed up because I could have been calling there, I could have been 3-betting small, and I could have been shoving there. And I took the quickest option, but I think that all of the options are pretty close in equity there.
I like that option the best, personally.
And this is also a bit interesting when he's shoving such a big stack. I'm more inclined to call with 9s because there will be a lot of smaller pocket pairs that are going to be shipping there, and with the 9s I'm going to be dominating a lot of those.
So there you got a nice huge stack, which means that you get more money at the end of the game.
Yeah, that's actually something that we haven't discussed on how these 50-50s work.
Maybe this would be a good time for that.
Like magnets, how do they work?
Let's not go there. Let's stick with the poker. By the way, do you know Silly's ROI?
I think Silly has been playing with something like 3% ROI for quite a long time. And I don't know how much he has improved since then. And also, I don't know, I think that he's going to be a formidable opponent, and he's going to be playing probably 2,500 games during the challenge, so I think I'll need to be sure about myself winning this, I need to get over 2.5k, but it can be a bit smaller if Kuutossilli is not running that well.
And he's starting his game in tomorrow, right?
Yeah, on Monday.
Because you have 2 days off because our mandatory Finland visit, and it's going to be on next week for 2 days, so that's why you are starting your 2 week 2 days earlier, and then you are having a 2-day break
in the middle. Yeah.
in the middle, and then you can finish at the same time.
There was an ace jack that I folded because the opening guy was such a nit, and he opened from UTG +1, and I don't think that I'm ever going to be in a good shape there. And in these games are also one thing to take notice is that nits are going to nit. That I have been wasting money during the time here trying to make nits fold, but they don't fold because they are always having the nuts.
So it has been taken less than 2 days to realize that. So
yeah.
It's a good thing that you know that already, not in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that nits are going to be nits.
Yeah.
But I have been playing some hands probably that they are going to look really weird for some people in these games. and I'm getting most fold equity on the flop, so I'm going to take it to the flop. And so because I think that there have been situations that I'm thinking that he can be putting so much pressure on me at this spot, and he really should be betting this flop or turn with pretty much for his whole range, because this is such a great opportunity to make me fold. And then he's like, then the guys are always having something like sets, or and then I'm like, why does this always happen to me?
Not liking it. And Markus has said that it's pretty interesting since I have some of the action of both participants. That's weird, but that's true. So I think Markus has created a situation where he can only win or something. And that's one way to play this game. We had to have some side bet options and some auctions before this started. So I guess Markus was trying to save the game.
And Markus got the percent really cheaply. I think so as well. I think during the next week Markus is probably lighting up the cigar for a good deal.
I'm inclined to say that I agree. I think that Markus got the deal of his life. So to say, if everything goes according to your plan, I think that that's one of the best invests Markus has ever made. So congratulations. I already think you as a winner, no matter what.
And on the bottom left, when we are opening small, we are going to be calling the small stacked players, and that's why also we are not opening something like any two here, because there are so many little stacks that we need to call if they are 3-betting us, so that also makes our... And here we are getting screwed with the Alex GO, and I think that and on the top we are having a reg on the big blind, and we don't want to be raise folding, because, and here he wasn't bluffing, and that's also, I think that's missed spot for the opponent, but that's something that's pretty much that will happen a lot, that people are going to be missing spots.
Yeah, against the reg on the bubble, you don't want to give really too good and too many re-steal options for them, because they are going to use it. And if you have a reasonable hand and reasonable situation, it's better just to shove, even though it's a slightly bigger shove than you would normally do, because then you get to give pressure to the big blind, for example, and he cannot be calling as wide as he could be re-stealing.
But I think that with the auction, I thought that there is an interesting way to find out that what is the level that people are thinking that I'm going to end up in, and I thought that having the minimum and maximum amounts that people can raise as being the same, I would have had a more broad option, or more broad view on what will people's opinions be, but not this time. And because the one player bets so little, even though I have just 2 overcards, we are going to be I'm going to be calling it and going to be seeing if our ace high will be good enough on the river. On the bottom right we have been moving money. Like I think all the small stacks have already been like all the small stacks have been
Getting a piece of you.
getting a piece of me and the other medium stacks, so and as you can see that we are not having that many difficult situations, and some situations are that we are getting in, and like René Descartes 87, we are trying to abuse him a lot if any ways possible.
So maybe we can get back to that strategy for 50-50s. What's the name of the game?
I think it's easier to explain when we are having some space here when the last games are getting through. Then I can open a notepad and whip up something.
Ah, that's a good idea.
Like in the 50-50s, these are like double or nothings for a half of the game. So you'll get the half of the prize pool is being divided for the players that are still standing when there are only 5 players left, and half of the prize pool is divided between the players that are having the most chips. And I think it's a really interesting idea, as a whole, because it's really interesting idea as a whole in the games, because it gets some really interesting ICM situations brewing. Like, for example, if you are having 2 large stacks colliding in the bubble, then with the large stacks it's easier, even though you are having like the same 10 big blinds. If you are having like 1000 chips on the bubble, it's going to be way harder for you to put your money in than if you are having a 4000 chip stack, because like the survival is worth 3000 chips. If you are having just 1000 chips left, you are really inclined to be fighting for your survival only and playing like really conservatively, because even if you are doubling your stack, it's not going to increase the amount of money you are getting that much. But if you are having a 3k stack, you are actually, it's going to be more it's going to make more for you the chip wise than it will cost you for the survival wise, if I could explain it in any way. And actually for the auction, I think that my main mistake was to make the auction end during the Saturday and not something like Sunday, because I think that there were so many people that were out drinking or something and not offering money at the auctions.
It's kind of surprising how much René wants to take a fight with you, because he's the one who shouldn't be fighting against you, if someone.
And we are having just like 14 big blind stack, getting it all in, and with 9s we are going to be in it to win it. And with the 9 jack suited,
And I thought he was a nit.
Yeah, like nit's gonna nit, and then they are going to be having a hole in their head or something.
Yeah,
like nits are going to knit until they get bored at knitting, or I don't know what happens to the nits that when they
Are they tilting?
nits tilting.
You never know. But I was quite sure that there would be something like tens plus or something like that.
Yeah, like 7/4 guy with 183 hands. And then when we'll see a hand for him, it's going to be Jack 9 suited. That's...
But then if you think that he really is that tight, do you still think that nines were a good push?
I think because when he's having such a short stack, it's going to be also... It's going to be a situation that the guy will be more inclined to pretty much push any pocket pair. And when he's inclined to push any pocket pair, it's going to be... It's going to be a situation that nines is going to be making a lot of money. Or not a lot, but I think nines are going to be making money. And now you'll see that most of the tables are going to the... Most of the tables are going to the stack of bubble situations. And René Descartes, I think it's interesting that he's playing a little bit too many hands without aggression. And that's also one thing that we are going to be saying here, that aggression is the key in poker or successful poker. That with aggression you are having more options for winning the pots, and when you are having more options to win the pots, you are going to be winning more pots. And here with jacks, we are just thinking what's the optimal way for getting the guy in with us. With ace jack, horrible spot. Horrible spot. I think he's so needy that we can be folding there, but it's going to be a crying fold. And it makes me a bit more inclined to check that if I'm willing to raise fold jacks there against some players, that why I am not shoving it straight up. Interesting. I bet he called and donk bets against me. I'm a bit more inclined to believe him because he shouldn't be taking chances against me that much. And I'm doing some stuff that is going to look a bit of disingenuous in 50-50s, like taking risks and putting pressure on people. But I think that some stuff that looks a bit brain dead is going to be good in the long run. And now we are having just 7-handeds and bubbles. And I'm trying to keep the stack here and just take a lot of interesting bubble spots, because the bubble is going to be the place that's going to be a bit more interesting. And here we lost a large spot against Queen Cycle, Ace-7 against Ace-8, so...
Almost got split pot, but not quite.
Yeah, but it's a situation that I think that money is going to be going all in.
Yeah,
anyway,
sure.
So no matter what happens, that money is always going in. And we are having such a short stack that it's going to be going to be a chore. How long the turbo round is going to take? It's going to take like I think it's going to be about 40 minutes, and this first round of normal speed sit and goes is going to take like 1 hour and 10 minutes or something like that. And the difference is less than you would expect. I think when we are playing 25 games it's going to be closer than you would think. And we are funding our new friend René Descartes.
Was he some kind of famous people? A poet or writer or explorer or something?
René Descartes was René Descartes was a French philosopher.
So Descartes is just like a nickname.
Yeah, Descartes is like he's someone that likes to like do kart racing or something. I think.
Our new friend. I'm playing funny jokes about him. But it's always fun to have new friends around, right?
Yeah. We got
Wow.
walk there, and I think that Devin shouldn't give us walks.
It's
like,
Antonius.
ever.
That's why we got a walk. That he should never give you a walk, never, with any kind of hand.
And when I have played mostly 6-max games, these tables are looking so crowded, so crowded.
What about the speed? Now that you have played a lot of normal speed, regular speed, and you are more used to hyper turbos, how it's like?
It's going to take some adjustment, but I think 50/50s are the game that are taking least amount of adjustments, because there are some similarities with the hypers, like the antes are going to be high at most stages. So, and Tupa was thinking about making a home game. If you are making a home game that would start at 10 o'clock, I think we are going to be done before 10 o'clock time. And with just 5 big blinds, and we are thinking about this with common sense on here, the bubble situation, that if we are always just going to be folding, we are not getting into money, or we are never getting into money. So we need to take some risks there, and if an aggressive player opens, we are getting a decent chance to increase our stack.
And there was that one game that you didn't have even one big blind. You were all in with antes, and now you have a reasonable amount of stack.
Actually, I moved this table from the other side. I just busted there.
Oh, you did? I thought it was the... Yep, my mistake. Clearly I'm not fast enough for you.
Or this table. Actually, this table is the one that I had the...
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Of course, yeah. It was the bottom, right, of course.
So I am fast enough for you.
Yeah.
I have been learning.
And we have been outdrawing the guys, but now we are again in a situation that, and we might be able to catch an elimination here, but nope. But Tienvaga is going to be in an ugly spot, because he's going to be all in from the blinds and antes quicker than I am. I'm still trying to find reasonable hands to get it all in with, but I'm not trying to force any action.
Yes, sometimes there are interesting spots when you really need to calculate that are you or your opponent going to be on the all-in blinds first. That maybe you need to just be folding or just taking your chance because you are going to be all in anyway before the other one. And then it requires some calculations, and even though there might be some sudden blind changes which changes everything, it might get tricky.
Yeah, sometimes the situations are really tricky, and that's actually something that I have had a slight problem adjusting to, because in 50/50s you need to take also like 7 or 6 stack sizes into account, and when you are taking 7 or 6 stack size into account, it takes a lot longer than in a 6 max bubble that you need to take only 3 stack sizes into account. So my mental accounting isn't quick enough for the 50/50s yet. And it's also, the 10-player tables are looking way different than the other types of tables, so it's also, I'm having some trouble adjusting, or it's just getting easier for me to easily spot the table when there are only interesting spot here. I was inclined even to set mine here because the ferry is going to be a bad player that isn't going to be folding that much, so I could get pretty decent value out of him if I would hit a set. So
Tupe put a home game for Poker Mania starting at 22:00, so in a bit less than 1 hour, and the ways to get there are found in our forum, and maybe Tupe can also send that link there to our chat. So please register. There is probably going to be some sit and go games.
There can't be sit and goes in home games, but there's going to be a home game tournament.
Pardon me, home game tournament.
And now we are trying to pot control because it would be really stupid for us to be losing our whole chip stack when there is such a short stack on the table. I was in the edge of in that. Ace-9 also 6-handed with large antes, and there are 2 players that are way smaller stacks, so I think it's okay, but it's kind of icky spot and it's pretty much on the edge.
I think it's okay. I wouldn't be shoving a way worse ace rubbish hand, at least when it's off, but I think that was still on a good side.
Ace rubbish crap.
You were creating some new measurements for the hands. Yeah. Ace crap. Ace of crap. And that's the good stuff when Pegastars can be shipping really, really widely when you are folding. The guy with 3k stack cannot be calling that wide at all. And that's how you collect chips when you are chipping.
It's actually slightly surprising that Pegastars is having such solid stacks or solid stats on the about 6-handed game, because he's playing a ton of tables, like a ton. I think he's one of the players that have played the most games on PokerStars, or one of the most games during last year, yeah.
If you get that number 1 next to your nick, can you hide it or is it visible all the times?
You can hide it. I think Pekastas is just playing such low limit games and he's having such a crappy ROI that he's not going to be in any of the what is called leaderboards. And so right now, after this first set, we are about here at $230. So we made about $8 during our last run, and now we are starting the turbo ship. And we are mainly doing 350 turbos, because I think my ROI on 7s would be worse than at 350s, and I'm including some 150s here as well, so that we can get the set quickly started.
And let's see how much time it takes to open up these next games. I was kind of hoping for your notepad calculations, but we can also do that at the end of the
Yeah, I forgot that when we already had games open, then I just... Yeah, we needed to do something.
Let's try to find the moment to do that at the end of the games, when we have already played like 50 games of this already.
I think on my second or third game, someone asked me on $150 regular speed game, like, what is a supernova doing in this game? And I just answered him that I'm grinding for supernova elite. So, and that was the end of that.
Yeah, I was once playing some kind of ladies low limit game. It was something like $1 or $2, just because I was ending my set and I wanted to have a bit more something special on my set. And I don't normally play those, but when I went there and there were some ladies, there were at least 2 people who said that you're a supernova, what the heck are you doing here? And I was like, well, I'm going to win this. And then I won it. And that was probably one of the best feelings ever, even though the persons weren't on the final table with me. But I got some extra bucks, and it wasn't on my main games, but it was funny. So these are all turbos. You have 150s, 350s.
150s and 350s.
Yeah.
If we would have been winning something like $30 more, then I would have taken also those $7 turbos. But because of my calculations being, and first of all, I know how easy it is to lie to yourself on how good you really are. So that's one reason as well to be not having a optimistic bankroll management. And also that's not even the only reason, but also when I'm calculating my bankroll management with the Kelly formula, then every game I'm playing that's going to be over my bankroll limits is going to be a game that I'm not playing, or even if I'm playing it winningly, I'm not playing it optimally in like increasing my bankroll in playing that game. So, and I don't like to be doing stupid moves like playing in a game that's not going to help me win more money. And we are having 22 games running. So you could see that in the low limits we can get a really high amount of these turbos running at a really short time period. And I think that you can also start seeing some of these games how they are differing. Like the 350s, you can see some regs in those, but on 150s I think that there just aren't any regs, or any regs that I need to avoid in any way, because I think the regs are having such huge leaks. And it's a bit like checking it to the end.
So now you have 25 games, and that's all we'll have for this set, and we'll see when's the last one. It's 20 past 9 at the moment.
Yeah, it shouldn't take more than 40 minutes. I think the worst case scenario for turbos is about 40 minutes, and average game length is about 25 minutes.
That's true. So we should be all set by the 10 o'clock finish time.
And I think it's also a bit interesting that for the higher games, I think my average game length is going to be going down. And why it's going to be going down, it's because on those games I'm not going to get to the bubbles that often, but like last set of the games, I think something like 20 out of our 25 games got to the 7-handed or bubble or those stages, and then it's going to take a lot more time to play those games. And of course, if I would play even more needy, then I would be having even longer average game times. But if I'm comparing these to something like MTT Sit and Goes, the variance also in game length is going to be way less. And I think this is the game structure that I have found that there is the least amount of variance in the game length. So if you are getting a set open, like 25 games that are open right now, they are going to be ending at pretty much the same times or near the same times.
Well, that's one thing we could check at the end of this set, that what kind of ending positions you have on these games, because I think that's quite interesting to see. And I was playing these games some time ago, quite many, so I have too some experience. At least I have more experience on 50-50s than Aarnimetsa has.
And when there is a flush draw, I'm more inclined to get it all in, because there are a lot of draws as well that he can have, and on these games I'm more inclined to get it in with the weaker hands as well, because the guys are going to be going for broke with kinda stupid hands, and I think the guy got the most out of me by shipping it there, because I think that if he has a strong hand, he shouldn't have any reason to ship it there. But when he ship it, I also read that he's never going to have the... And what do we see here? We see a top pair that's willing to go for broke the beginning stages, so you'll also see some quite wild moves.
And there are some interesting hands that you posted on the forum as well.
I posted them on the Finnish side, so not on the English side of things.
Oh, there's one Finnish player. Maybe we should take that game out. Because he's also active on the forum.
Depends. Let's see how many games he plays. He plays about 20 games, so... And now I double clicked. And I mean double click that I clicked call on somewhere stupid. The guys are so needy here, I was inclined to even raise. Like I wanna raise a lot there. And as you can see that the higher up we are going, or at the, not the complete micros, but one step away from the complete micros, it's going to be also interesting to abuse both the nits and the random players that are playing every hand. Because it's going to require wholly different strategies of exploiting the guys that are playing only a few hands and the guys that are playing almost every hand. And in the higher levels, I know that when I have seen your games that you have played most of your games from $15 to $100 in 50/50s, and I have seen that the players are getting, like in every sit and go structure, they are getting more aggressive. And with the aces we are trying to do an exploitative re-raise, but the players are going to get more aggressive, that the regs aren't like the regs in here might be 7/5 and 3-betting only 2% of their hands, and at the like $100 levels the regs are going to be way more aggressive than that.
That's true. Like here you can really get by just playing pretty much wisely and a bit cautiously, but then if you just keep on playing nicely in a way, that won't work out on the higher level of games, because the regs are going to be way more aggressive and you don't get that many easy spots than you still can get on the, for example, $15 sit and goes.
Yeah, and I think in these 150s or 350s, it's also one thing that I have needed to adjust in my games would be when I'm going broke. Like the average player in these games is going broke for hands that are making no sense for me to go broke with.
That's probably way true, because if they have even some kind of hit on the flop, they will just do anything for it, even though there is no point putting your whole stack in with the lowest pair.
But there are still, I think there are good, decent spots to both bluff and do it for value. And I think some of the spots to bluff against some players that are calling a lot would be not to bluff on the flop that much or the turn, but when all the draws have been missing, then betting the river is really effective against the players that are looking just only on their own hand.
Markus is wondering how random players end up playing 50/50s, since it's not a traditional sit and go, I guess.
That's something that I have been wondering too, because I have seen a lot of players here playing on mobile devices, and I think out of all of the sit and goes, playing 50/50s on a mobile device that you can play only 4 tables at once, I think it's going to be the most boring of the sit and go structures to play on the mobile device.
That actually might be true.
So that's why I'm wondering why there are so many players playing 50/50s with a mobile device. Or at the low buy-in levels, maybe it's because in the 50/50s the games are ending pretty quickly. Like you can get rid of your games, like if you are in a bus going for home or somewhere, you can get rid of your games during one bus trip.
That's true. And one thing is that if you want to have a quick game, you cannot take any hypers, because with a mobile device it's really hard to register on the hypers because they fill up so easily. And at least when I tried those during one some kind of campaign, it was really hard to even get in to any kind of hypers because the mobile device registration was so much slower than when you were registering on your PC. So maybe this is the next option for quick games after hypers.
Yeah, I think there is also one thing that's interesting in 50/50s, that you are having tilting problems with different sit and go structures, and you were having tilt problems because you could always know during your games how well you were doing, and if you lost a lot of tables you were having tilt problems because you know that you were losing a lot of during that session. And in 50/50s you can be losing tables a lot and you can still be making money even if you are not, if you are not in a pot right now because the table can just quit. But on a regular sit and go you just don't lose tables. Like if you are losing tables you are losing money, and I think it's harder to keep track on if you are losing money or not on 50/50s.
That's a fairly good point as well, because when you are playing stacked like you are doing there, you don't really know if there has been a double elimination or something and the table has just disappeared, or if you just put all the bubbles to the other side and you still have many of those even though you have multiple spots for them, the table really might disappear even though you have won a huge amount of money. So it really helped me personally, and that's one way. Even though some random players, they don't play that many games, it's probably only the 4 games maximum when they can fit on the tape, on the screen. But like Eurosport said, that you also get paid way more often than on the normal sit goes, and that might be a comforting feeling for many as well.
And actually now that we can see how quick these turbos are, we are getting decent amount of bubbles and 7-handeds already, and we have only played for something like 10 minutes for this session. So, and this is one thing that happens a lot in these games, that people are going to be
winning
shoving like double the amount of pot, and usually when they are shoving double the amount of pot, the hand that they are having is not going to be that strong. And I thought that now there is going to be someone is giving me a present. But
was that the reason why you didn't bet the flop, or was that a misclick?
In here,
Yeah.
I think I bet the flop.
No, it was check.
That was a mistake. I should have been betting the...
Yeah, I thought so, but I just thought that I'd bring it up if you have time for it. But anyway, you ended up winning that pot.
Yeah, but that's not the most important thing, because the most important thing is getting the money in good. And in there even, I think that my reasoning was solid, and that was something that's interesting, because there are people that are going to, they're practically leaking money when they are leaking money with their huge overbets. And usually the huge overbets, they are just turning their hands into bluffs, and with 2 flush draws we are really inclined to get it in. And I did a slight mistake on not moving the table after I'm getting it in, because I think that would have been an interesting hand to look at what the opponent has there. But that's also, I think, Julas Bros, that these 50-50s, when you are getting some money back so often, I think they are going to give some like really good feelings for the recreational players as well, because there are, I think, even a player that's not really winning money in these is going to be like getting in the money at least 4 times in 10 games. So that's like they are winning some of those games, and getting good vibes from the games. And when I saw that now, or when I said that now we are getting some bubbles, we have been eliminating those bubbles with the pretty quick action as well. And as you can see with the normal speed sit and goes, of course I ran way better at the normal speed sit and goes than in the normal speed sit and goes. I think that it was something like 30 minutes and we had lost just 1 table, and now it's going to be 15 minutes and we have lost 6 tables already. And Julas Pro had a good thing, that said a good comment on that, getting it good against the villain's range, and that's something that needs to be highlighted, that even if you are screwed with the exact hands that you have against your opponent, it doesn't mean that the decision was wrong, but usually it's going to be a harder discussion in the heat of having multiple games going on, to have a decent discussion about what the opponent's range in here is, compared to that when we see his hand instantly there, when it requires no thinking.
Yeah, usually we don't have this many games on the screen for you guys at the moment, so it's a bit different situations, because there are so many spots that we just cannot go through, since obviously we don't have time for everything. But luckily there has been some spots that can be gone through a bit more closely, but this is not the normal way we do these things, let me say in that way.
This is not the normal thing, but I think this is something that's also interesting on in the way that how a pro can approach these games, or how multi-tabling professional, how the magic happens there. And so we got the magnets in.
You got the magnets. How do they work?
Magic.
Ta-da! Can you get that worse flop?
There could be a queen as well. Or
Oh,
king.
it's coming. The river is coming. Told ya. Oh, you should just believe me. I know these things.
It's also in a way that you could bluff a player there also, because you would need to only have so little in that flop to even beat some of their hands that are better than pair of tens. Then there are so multiple options to beating their hands, but against a normal recreational player, I don't think that they are thinking that much on what I should have, and they are more thinking that what they are having, and that makes it a losing proposition to trying to bluff them out on certain spots like that. And when we are having antes here, if the player would have been even a bit more aggressive, I would have been going all in. But it's like in these games, it's going to be playing the situations and playing the players and having multiple different strategies against different opponents. Like, you know how an opponent would play in a certain way, and that's something that I'm being learning during this project, on how the average opponent approaches certain situations in these games. And also I'd like to add something to Julos Pro's comment, that I think one of the hardest parts in poker, or in sit and go poker in general, one of the hardest things to learn is to making correct pot odds calls. That, for example, you're only requiring to have 30% equity or something, and that's mentally, that's like really hard call to make, because you are making a call and you are most likely you are going to be losing the hand, and you are calling the hand anyway because it's making you money, even if you are quite likely you are getting it in bad. If you know what I mean. And that's something that requires a lot of practice and requires a lot of thinking, and that's something that most players don't get naturally. I got Bosnia-Herzegovina. I think that might be a new country for our country list.
I'm not sure, we have to check that. There's over 100 countries already.
I think Bosnia-Herzegovina is just something that's really rare in the poker tables.
Yeah, we are counting all the different countries we see on the games on the pokerimania.com, on the Finnish side, and there is quite many countries already. Everybody can add their own countries if they see a country that hasn't been mentioned before.
And this is actually also one of those interesting hands. Like, King Queen looks like a decent hand, and when we are just having 5 big blinds, most of the people are inclined to be shoving that hand or getting it all in. But I think that's a mistake that some players are making there, because on the bubble it's worth more that there is going to be an elimination, because there are 2 shorter stacks than mine, and one of the players has already put all of their money all in and is going to be eliminated, quite possibly with some of the 3 players behind me. And if I'm going to be all in there, then I'm going to be if some of the players behind me is if one of the players behind me is going to be calling there, then it's going to be me with the smallest stack that is going to be going home crying without money if I'm not winning both of them. And that's something to take into account as well. Like, when you are having a smaller stack than one that's already all in, then it's just a matter of move along. And Julos Pro added a really good comment that also that's the same in many other forms of poker. I'm just probably thinking too much about the pre-flop games because the pre-flop game is really important in most of the sit and goes and especially in turbo sit and goes. So, but Julos Pro also pointed out that are comparable situations like betting big on the river is really profitable. Profitable because people are not calling, even though they would need to be correct only 33% of the time against a pot-sized bet, and they are not calling it that often because they are going to be more often wrong than not, and that's something that's, as I said, it's going to be mentally really hard to do, even though it's a correct and winning way to do it. And also that's one good point on how to exploit the basic human weaknesses. And that's also something that you know that you will need to practice and practice to be aware of your ranges and what your ranges should be in different spots. But so you have been so quiet in here, so you haven't seen that many that stupid things yet, correct?
Not that many. There was one hand that I would have pushed, but then you were in the middle of a very heated conversation with yourself, so I didn't dare to stop you. So, but it wasn't that big of a difference, so I think I just let it be. And I'm even not sure if I was correct or not, or was that a good fold for you.
And it's also interesting that if the Gasmaker PD would have been a reg, he's going to be getting the money in against Tarik Champ pretty often, but when he's not a reg, it's going to mean that I'm going to need to be pushing a lot more than normal, because the guys are not getting eliminated as often as they should.
I think I would have played most of the spots in the same way that you have. I have a way of saying fold or call or raise on my mind when I see the buttons you'll get. Most of the time we are playing the same buttons.
And you're seeing what buttons I'm getting. You haven't really noticed that there's always going to be the fold and call and raise buttons?
You are pushing it.
But
so now I start to pick on your game really, really bad. Like, no sir, that's not the correct way to do this. Just beware. Yeah, there was that one table like 10 rounds ago.
I'm probably more afraid that you are going to be nitpicking on my grammar.
Actually, I thought about that as well. But then I thought that maybe this is not the right time to teach you some English grammar when you are playing 25 games at the same time. You're not probably picking up the hints that easily. But we can have a private English grammar chat later on.
And that's also why when thinking of range is important. And also on the most important spots on your game, you can also look at a large portion of hands, because then you are also seeing how it's going to be also range wise as well when you are looking at multiple hands rather than just one hand. And if the situation isn't going to be happening really often, then I don't believe that it's going to be an interesting or important situation, because you're going to be needing situations that are happening all the time, that are like if I'm thinking about leaks, the most important leaks to fix are big leaks that happen often, and on the next level are going to be small leaks that are happening often, and then there are going to be big leaks that are happening rarely. And then there are going to be small leaks that are happening rarely, but usually you are always having either small leaks that are happening often, or you are having large leaks that are happening rarely, that you'll pretty much never get to fixing the small leaks that are happening rarely.
Yeah, that's actually a question from XXIXX that I want to have an answer as well.
15-day playoff beard. I think I'm already having something like a week's beard, so this would be... Actually, it can be even a bit more. I think that when I'm having the pause in the games, I'm being inclined, or I'm being... How do they say it in mafia style?
And you're looking at me.
Yeah.
How should I know?
Because you are going to do the... What's it called? Persuasion.
Oh, maybe you can talk to my little friend. Let me Google that for you. You think I'm going to give you some kind of smallish hints what kind of facial growth you should have?
That's called the persuasion. And I think that when we are going to your sister's daughter's name-giving party or whatever, I'm being persuaded of not having this much of a beard in there.
You really think so? Usually I don't... Well, actually, maybe I shouldn't say anything anymore.
Actually, an interesting spot when there's one player with just 5 chips.
Yeah. Did you see that before you pushed?
I saw that there was a short stack, but it didn't matter because my hand is so good, and also when my stack is so big, I'm not having a horrible situation there. Even if someone calls. We are having 4 tables remaining. And 3 350s and 1 150.
And now there is a really interesting spot on the top right. What kind of ranges would you give to Zeluanin and Vasilek?
Chilianin's actually be really tight there because he's having the shortest stack, so he's not getting the money if he's losing to any one of those.
Because I really thought that we are gonna see something nasty there, and I think that kind of happened.
That's one of the situations that you are just getting screwed, and you are having like, if you are having 9 chips, the 9 chips are worth way more to you. If you are thinking about that, you are having the survival equity that's going to be worth 3,000 chips. And now I'm trying to explain you 50-50 mathematics in about
9 minutes.
or in an amount of time I have left on the tourney on top of this. So practically 50-50s, they are 2 tournaments in one. There's one tournament where like there's one tournament style that survival is everything, like Double or Nothing. And like Double or Nothing's half of the field gets money and gets equal money. If we are doing it in mathematics way, it would be 20% for all of the players included, and then 0 for the next 5. So first 5 are getting 20% of the prize pool, and then the next 5 are getting nothing. And then there is the one tournament where winner takes everything. Like, if you are thinking about it, a winner takes everything tournament is a tournament that no equity is leaking out of the tournament. So every chip is worth the same. Every chip is worth the same, so it's going to be 100, and if winner takes it all, then everybody else is taking nothing. And when we are combining these two tournaments, we are getting the 50 structure. And that's going to be 1/2 of these, that winner takes everything. So the first position is going to be 50 plus 10, and then everybody else is going to get 10% of the prize pool. And then, of course, the sixth gets nothing. So this is also something that makes it interesting ICM-wise as well, because if you are thinking about it a bit better, you are having situations that the ICM is like in 6-max sit and goes, for example. If you are having two large stacks, the large stacks are least inclined to collide because they are both really, or in the bubble they are both really in a crappy spot to battle it out. But in 50-50s it makes it, because the winner takes everything, it's going to be, the big pots are going to be even more fun, or then it moves the arrow more to the side of just going to chips. The larger stack you are having, the more you are just thinking about chips. And the shorter stack you are thinking, the more it moves your needle to the point of going for the survival. And balancing those two games is really important. In here it's also good when Vicky is all in. This guy should be all in quite widely as well, I think. And I don't think when he's a purple guy that he's going to be doing it correctly. And now the quiz at 1 is going to be a bit screwed, because he's going to be all in before the other short stacks. So like Itikampistos Taure are playing the chip game, and the Vicky and Quiz at 1 are playing the survival game. And as Tupe is saying, home game tournament in 5 minutes. And Tupe linked the guide on how to get to our home games. And now it's probably also, it's going to be quite a bad time to say about it, but you can also use the Justin TV's chat to chat to us. But actually now we are out of games, so we are out of games.
And the structure is explained.
Yeah.
And if you have any questions about it, you can post it on our forum.
And our challenge is at this point right now, so a bit more than doubling my bankroll. And I will be probably playing something like 300 games more for today, so it's going to be a work day for me ahead still.
Would you mind give us a sneak peek on your craft?
I can give you more than a sneak peek. I can show it.
Oh, because I think that's interesting to see. So this is your second day of the challenge, and you are still going to play some games today.
Yeah, so I'm in the middle of my second day right now.
And you have played 739
games.
indeed. And that's awesome. That's pretty solid.
And I'm having like 8% adjusted ROI, 7% ROI, and I have paid $124 of rake in one and a half days.
So more than your starting bankroll.
Actually, it's going to be quite interesting to look also my in the money percent.
Can you show the places as well?
This is going to be ugly. That I'm pretty much when I'm getting in the money, I'm getting in the money good. And I have been playing it slightly bad on some spots as well. I should be more balanced in the games, but I should be more balanced, but I haven't been. And I think I have also been quite unlucky in some spots that I'm trying to fold myself into money, and then I'm just getting screwed like 3 times in a row that the small stack doubles up. And also I think that I'm quite decent in abusing the large stack. If I'm getting a large stack, I'm then gunning for it. So, but I think this is not the correct way to do it.
Let's revisit this picture in 2 weeks, shall we?
Yeah, I think it's going to be more like 52-53% in the money, and it's going to be more balanced here. But I think for a decent winner, it should also always be slanted a bit more towards the first places and second places. And now, when it's only 1 minute for the home game tournament, hope to see as many of you there as possible. And it's going to be thanks for everybody that chatted with us, because it's always more fun to do these when there are active people on the chat. And for anyone going to sleep, have a good night. And if you are still playing poker, have the best night on the tables as possible.
Thanks for following and good luck. See you next time.
See you.